It's very hot in here, okay? I need a beer to cool me off. Look at that. Whoa. Excellent. We're having a bit of a heat wave in Ireland at the minute. I don't know where you are. I don't know what's going on in your neck of the woods, but it's bloody hot here. When I say hot, anything over 20, okay, in Ireland is just outrageous. I think it's like wind chill. You know, the thermometer will say one thing, but it actually feels different. But it's in reverse. So in Ireland, it's like the thermometer might say 20, but it feels like 35. You know, it's like that. It must. I think maybe it's the ginger gene. I don't know. It's that kind of Celtic gene that's doing that. But you know what? Never mind that. So this is a New Zealand Pilsner. Okay, it is on top two over there. It's good, but it's not my favorite version. I always make this. I make the same recipe all the time. I've told this a million times. I do the same recipe all the time. I do Nelson plus another hop, and I switch out the hop every time. Okay. With the Simcoe one, it's got this kind of bubblegum taste to it, which is a bit weird. But I think maybe it's just because it's Simcoe. Maybe it's just the two combined or what, but I don't know. But where Simcoe has a bit of a funky taste. But yeah, it's basically turned into bubblegum now. But you know what? It's actually going down pretty well in this heat because it's warm. I don't know if I've told you that. But no, we're not here to talk about the weather, even though I could for like an hour. But no. So, a couple of weeks ago, SJ Porr put out a video basically about thoughts on homebrewing. Is it in decline? Thoughts about YouTube and homebrew stores, all going out of business and whatnot. And I meant to do like a video response, and just man, I've been really busy since then. I haven't had time to do anything, let alone make videos and even brew. So yeah. So things are starting to come back to normal now, thankfully. So I thought I'd come out here, do a beer, and we'll just kind of turn the camera on and then see what comes out. So, and in terms of the stores, okay, so in terms of homebrew shops, I think that was one of the things that SJ was talking about. If you don't know who SJ is, by the way, he is like the father of Homebrew Wednesday. So in case you're wondering what Homebrew Wednesday was about or where it came from, that's your man, okay? So in terms of the shops, okay, so I only started brewing in 2015, okay? So I've always done online shopping for all my stuff and still do. In terms of actual shops here, there's very little. Even though like one of the major online stores is here, they don't actually have a shop. And all there is really like this little shop in Belfast, which is mainly a health food store that has a little corner devoted to like homebrew, which is basically kits and yeast and hops and stuff. So, but yeah, so what I wanted to talk about was just why I homebrew, and am I going to continue homebrewing? Yes, I'm going to continue homebrewing, and just basically why I do it, and what kind of drives me. And basically I got into it through the kind of craft beer explosion. I came into it pretty late. It was 2015, but I had never actually tried any craft beer until like 2014. We'll not go to the whole backstory as to what it was, but basically as soon as I had craft beer for the first time, it's just like everything just changed. It was like this kind of light bulb going off. But at the same time as that, I was really interested in cooking. And it seemed kind of obvious that I could combine my love of cooking and my newfound love of, craft beer to, I could combine them and enjoy that hobby, which I have very much over the years. So, I always find that putting together, like even just cooking, it's like the very simple act of like your fried onions. You can put in like whatever you want. Put in a bit of cumin and coriander, right? With the onions as a fran. put in a little bit of water or stock or something like that, and you've got a base for anything, and just you're building the layers of flavour all the time. It's the same with brewing. You know, you've got your malts, you've got your hops, and you're just building that flavour layer all the time. And if you put the hops in at the start, it'll be different from when you put the hops in the middle and you put your hops in the end. And every time throughout that hour, if you want to boil for an hour, you will get a different flavour every time. And I find that I'm fascinated by that whole thing. Okay, the whole thing with brewing is fascinating, endlessly fascinating. And it's like, I suppose this is, what I'm going to say is that if you think about when you started brewing, okay, so for me it was 2015, which is not really that long ago. But if I think about the hops, the amount of like hops and malts that are available now as to when I started, it's just mind-blowing. The amount of choice we have now. So, I mean, that in itself, if you think about it, is maybe an indication of how successful the homebrewing kind of hobby is, or, you know, the whole homebrewing economy, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure there's a word for it. But yeah, so just the amount of choice, because obviously something's driving that. Same with the equipment. I mean, the amount of equipment you can get these days is insane. And it's been, obviously, a lot of it is really expensive equipment. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, so in terms of equipment, I'll say this and then we'll park it, okay? I started basically at the bottom, doing kits, and then moved up to like brewing a bag, up to like all-in-one systems, and now I still have an all-in-one system. But yeah, it's just kind of that slow kind of moving up the layers, and you don't have to do that. But nowadays you can just buy anything off the shelf, you know, the best equipment ever, like. And so yeah, so I think for me that gave me this kind of appreciation for, you know, how this whole thing works. Not necessarily the science of how it works, because I'm not really a scientific person, but I've kind of got this kind of fascination with the process, all that type of thing. So yeah, that, as I said, that's a whole other conversation. That's maybe for another day. But in terms of what keeps me homebrewing, it's basically building recipes, using different kind of, I was going to say materials, but different kind of ingredients, and seeing what comes out on the other end. It's like making a lasagna, you know what I mean? And you can add like a little bit extra things, and then see how it ends up. And if you like it, you can build on it. And if you don't like it, you just do something else. And it's exactly the same with homebrewing. So yeah, that is what keeps me going. And I mean, I'm determined to go through as many flavours as I can in whatever time I've got left on this planet, which might be a lot, or it might be, you know, tomorrow. If it is tomorrow, I'm not going to be here next week. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. So what has also helped then is obviously the YouTube community. And this is another thing about the video, SJ's video. It's like, where are all the YouTubers gone? And obviously there's loads of YouTubers out there, okay? But I always think that, sorry, there's a fly buzzing around me. I always think that there's a shelf life, okay, for YouTubers, which is about 2 years. And then people come in and then they go out. And because, you know, people have got stuff going on in their lives. People like me, you know, and SJ probably as well. And Tube Dinos as well. People like that, just, they're in it for the long haul, because it's not really about, it's about the community, basically, that's what it is. It's not really about, you know, you're not selling a product or anything like that. You're just not like professional videos. I do find there's been a proliferation of professional kind of homebrewing channels, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want you to think, and I'm saying there's anything wrong with it, but it's, you know, it's not really my cup of tea. I think maybe, possibly people are you know, obviously editing videos and stuff, making videos, it's a bit of a pain in the ass. It's, you know, trial and error for the first while when you're making videos. But when you see like really professional videos that could be like on like a TV channel or something like that, and you're thinking, you know, it's a bit intimidating, isn't it? And you're trying to do the same thing, but you know, I think people maybe need to just, you know, that's their thing that they're doing, and that's cool. But as I want to see what people are brewing, I want to see what people are drinking, and I want to know their thoughts on that. And is that good? Is that bad? And ultimately, it's because I'm trying to work out what to brew, because I don't want to be brewing the same 3 or 4 beers all the time. I have my kind of the beers like this, the New Zealand Pilsner, which is on all the time. I suppose it's a bit like a brewery, isn't it? They've got their kind of their core range, and then on the side they're doing loads of specials. That's basically what I'm doing. Okay, and I want to see what other people are doing, because I want to know what to brew next. And that's basically why I watch loads of YouTube channels. So even though I'm not a brewery, I have no... Funny, when I ever meet anyone new and they ask me what are my hobbies, and I say homebrewing, I brew beer, the first thing they always say is, I suppose you want your own brewery. And I always say no. I have absolutely no interest in having a brewery, because when it's a job, it's not fun anymore. Okay? When it's a hobby, it is fun. So when money is involved, it just becomes, it's not fun anymore. And you know, the thought of, you know, anyone who's experienced brewing in the winter time, and you're cold and you're wet and you're trying to clean a kettle or a mash tun and your back's sore and you're trying to, oh no. Imagine that on a scale like, you know, 10 times. That's what going pro actually means. That is the glory of going pro. So no. Anyway. So I keep going into different kind of off on tangents here, but so yeah, that's kind of what I want to watch people. I actually want to watch people who have like homemade channels, who it looks homemade. They've done it on their phone. It's fine, because phone's quality is really good. That's what I want to watch. What I enjoy watching, because then you get a kind of more of a genuine idea of what's actually going on. That's it. I think I'll go, and I shall drink my beer inside, because it's a bit cooler out there than it is in here. It's very warm. It's very warm. I don't know if I mentioned how warm it is, but it's very warm. Cheers. Happy Homebrew Wednesday to SJ and everyone else. Cheers. And I don't want to slag off all the more professional kind of channels, but I don't really subscribe to too many. The only exception I would make is probably Dr. Hans. I've sent him beer as well too. He has destroyed my beer on his channel, which is, you know, I consider that's like a medal. It's like a war medal, getting your beer reviewed by Johnny.